The rain had started before my father spoke, a steady hiss against the porch roof that made his voice sound even sharper. He stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame like he needed something solid to keep himself from changing his mind. "Your sister deserves a future, Reese. You don't." He didn't shout. He never did. His calm was worse than anger. It meant the verdict was final. I looked at the crumpled $10 bill he pushed into my hand. There was a faint coffee stain on the corner. The same kind of carelessness he showed when he'd leave a half-drunk mug on the table for me to clean up. "That's all I said." "It's more than you've earned," he replied, behind him. My mother's silhouette shifted. Catherine Morgan pressed blouse, hair perfect, the perfume that always smelled like clean denial. "You've made this house impossible," she said softly, almost kindly, like she was giving bad news to a stranger. "Tessa needs peace to focus on college. We can't keep doing this with you." The light from the hallway made both of them look unreal, like figures in an old photograph. "You could just say you're done with me," I said. "Save the lecture." My father's jaw tightened. "You've had every chance. You threw them away. I worked for everything I got. And look where it's gotten you," he said. Then he handed me a folded gas station receipt. Rain already smearing the ink. "Bus leaves in an hour. That should get you there." Behind him, my sister's voice floated down the stairs. "Dad," she called. "Is she still here?" He didn't answer, but the edge in his shoulders told me enough. I stepped back into the rain. My shoes sank into the mud that had once been our flower bed. The porch light flickered, buzzing like it was tired of this family too. "Reese," my mother called out, her voice brittle through the storm. "Don't make this harder." I turned to face her. It's already done. For a moment, I thought she might come closer, might take it back. Instead, she closed the door slowly, carefully, as if noise might stain the house. The sound of the lock sliding home was louder than thunder. I looked at the $10 bill in my palm, wet, torn, meaningless, and slipped it into my pocket. The receipt stuck to my fingers. I folded it, pressed it flat. That was the night they ended me, or thought they did. By midnight, the rain had slowed to a whisper, but the cold still bit through my clothes. I sat on the bench outside a gas station that never closed, the kind that sold stale coffee and lottery tickets no one ever won. The clerk glanced at me through the glass once, then turned away. I tried to smooth the $10 bill my father had given me, but it was already half dissolved. I bought a cup of coffee just to stay inside a little longer. It tasted like rust. "Rough night?" the clerk asked. His name tag read, "Dale." "Something like that." He nodded toward the door. We closed the seating at 1. "Right," I said. "Thanks for the warning." Outside again. The air stung. The bench was slick, the metal freezing through my jeans. A bus hissed past without stopping. My hands shook too much to hold the cup. A truck engine slowed near the curb. Headlights washed over me, then dimmed. A man stepped out, gray jacket, tired eyes. "You all right, miss?" he asked. "I'm fine," I said automatically. "You don't look fine." He held out his coffee thermos. "You can keep this one. Got another in the cab." I hesitated. "Thanks." He studied me for a moment. "Name's Nate. You got somewhere to go?" I shook my head. He exhaled. "All right. I'm headed toward the highway. There's a diner that's open all night, better than freezing out here. I can't pay you. Didn't ask you to." Something in his tone made me believe him. I followed him to the truck, heat spilling out when he opened the door. He drove quietly, wipers squeaking every few seconds. "Family trouble?" he asked. Something like that. He didn't push. When I started to sway, "Half asleep," he said. "Don't worry. We'll stop soon." The next thing I remember is white light and voices echoing. Someone said, "Dehydrated. Mild pneumonia." Another voice asked, "Address unknown." Nate said softly, When I woke, there was a plastic cup of orange juice on the tray beside my bed and a hospital tag on my wrist. Name Reese Morgan. Address unknown. The nurse came in, adjusting the blanket. "You're lucky he stopped," she said. Most people wouldn't. I looked at the empty doorway where Nate had stood. "Yeah," I whispered. "Most people wouldn't." The nurse handed me a folded pamphlet before I left the hospital. "They have space for women starting over," she said. "Talk to Angela Price. She doesn't waste time, but she's fair." Fair. The word stung a little. Still, I took the bus address written on the back and rode across town with the receipt from my father's porch still in my pocket. The shelter sat between a pawn shop and a laundromat, its windows fogged from the heat inside. A woman in her 50s opened the door before I could knock. "You, Reese?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Angela. I run this place. Come in before you freeze solid." Inside smelled like bleach and old blankets. She handed me a clipboard. "Name, age, anything you want to share? Don't lie, don't steal, don't fight. You get one bed, one lock, one chance. Understand?" "Yes, ma'am." Her eyes softened slightly. "Don't ma'am me. Just do your part." My room was barely wider than the bed, but the sheets were clean. That night, when someone coughed down the hall, I realized how long it had been since I'd heard another person close by. Morning came early. Angela's voice carried through the hallway. "Everyone works if they stay. Dishes, floors, laundry. Take your pick. I'll clean," I said. By noon, my hands were raw. Angela passed by with a clipboard, checking corners. "You clean like someone who's angry." "I am. Good. Anger's fuel if you use it right." At dinner, a woman named Carla accused another of taking her sweater. Voices rose, metal chairs scraped. Before I knew it, I'd stepped between them. "Stop yelling," I said. "It's right there on your cot." Carla turned on me. "Mind your business. She's trying to help." Angela's voice cut in. "Both of you sit." She looked at me. "You got a quick mouth. Reese. Learn when to use it." Later that night, she found me scrubbing the dining tables. "You ever worked anywhere before? Used to help at my dad's shop." Then he decided I wasn't worth keeping. Angela nodded slowly. "Families have short memories when it comes to gratitude. You'll learn to build your own." I didn't answer. She handed me a mop handle like it was a baton. Take pride in something, even if it's clean floors. When she walked away, I finished the last table, aligning the salt shakers until they were perfectly straight. The small order of things made the room feel less fragile. On the bulletin board by the door, a new paper hung crookedly. "Help wanted. Jones Diner. 5th and Pine." Someone had written at the bottom in red ink. "Start small, but start." I tore off the tab with the phone number and folded it next to the gas receipt. It felt like holding two pieces of proof where I came from and where I might be going. Joan Herrera didn't bother with introductions. She looked me over once, then tossed me an apron. "Start with the syrup bottles. If you last the week, we'll talk about pay." I tied the strings too tight just to keep my hands from shaking. "Yes, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am," she said. "Makes me sound polite." The diner smelled like burnt toast and ambition. Morning rush started before sunrise. Plates clattered, coffee hissed, customers barked orders like commands. By noon, I'd dropped 2 forks and almost a plate. Joan's eyes tracked everything. "Breathe." "Morgan," she said, wiping the counter beside me. "You move like you're waiting to be yelled at." "I probably am. Then you'd better learn faster." She walked away before I could answer. That night, I stayed after close, stacking plates, counting syrup bottles like they were math problems. When Joan came out from the kitchen, she stopped. "You always this careful? I like knowing things are where they should be." She leaned against the counter. "People pay attention when they're scared of losing something. I've already lost it." She studied me for a moment. "Then you've got nothing left to fear. That's useful." The next morning, A delivery truck backed up to the alley. The driver, Nate Wells, grinned when he saw me. "Didn't think I'd find you running the place. I'm just keeping the syrup alive." He laughed. "You working for Joan Brave's soul?" Joan shouted from the door. "If you two are done flirting, unload the eggs." Nate winked and started moving crates. As he worked, he nodded at the stacks of boxes inside. "Your inventory system's a mess." "I noticed," I said. "She won't let me change it." "Then show her it works." That night, I drew a new layout on the back of an old receipt, marking where everything should go. The next morning, I tried it. By the lunch rush, the kitchen ran smoother. Joan noticed. "What did you do?" "Just moved a few things." She opened the storage door, looked around, then shut it again. "Keep doing that." It was the closest thing to praise I'd heard in years. A week later, after closing, Nate handed me a folded flyer. "Miles Grant Logistics. They're hiring clerks. You'd be good at this." I shook my head. "I don't have a degree." He shrugged. "Doesn't say you need one. Try anyway." Joan dried her hands on a towel. "You leaving already?" "Just thinking about it. Don't think too long. People die waiting for perfect timing." That night, I used the diner's payphone to call home. It rang twice. My mother's voice came through. Tired. Careful. "Hello, Mom," I said quietly. Silence stretched. Then she sighed. "I told your father not to pick up strange numbers. It's me." "I know," she said, and hung up. The dial tone hummed in my ear until Joan turned off the lights. "Come on." "Morgan," she said. "We open again in 5 hours." I slipped the flyer into my pocket beside the gas receipt and walked out with her. The night air smelled like coffee and rain. For once, neither made me flinch. The office smelled like dust and printer ink. I sat across from Miles Grant, the hiring manager for a small logistics firm in downtown Des Moines, hands clasped too tightly in my lap. He flipped through my resume, which was just one page of diner shifts and shelter work. "You ever done operations before?" "No," I said, "but I understand systems. I keep things from falling apart." He looked at me over the folder. "That's a good start. We get people who make charts and people who fix problems. Which are you? I fix them." His mouth twitched. "All right, Ms. Morgan. Let's see if that's true." That was the first job anyone ever gave me for my mind, not my desperation. I learned fast delivery schedules, supply chains, invoices that multiplied like rabbits. I stayed late, redoing charts everyone ignored. By month 3, Miles stopped checking my math. One night he caught me in the break room, still at my desk after everyone had gone. "You trying to run this place alone? Someone has to—" "You know what I like about you," he said, leaning on the doorframe. "You don't ask permission. You just fix things. Comes from experience." I said. When the company merged with a bigger firm, most people panicked. I took notes. I started sketching what worked and what didn't. A few months later, I used those notes to start my own consulting gig, small at first. Just me and a borrowed desk above a printing shop. I named it Haven Systems, after the shelter that had given me a bed and a lock when I had nothing else. The first contract came from a bakery that couldn't keep track of its orders. By the end of the month, their deliveries ran smoother than a hospital shift change. Word spread, then a cafe, a florist, a warehouse. Every job built the next. 3 years later, I moved to Portland, Oregon. The office there had real walls, clean light, and 2 employees who called me boss even when I told them not to. On the wall above my desk hung 2 frames, the hospital wristband that read "Address Unknown" and the gas receipt my father gave me. I looked at them every morning before opening my laptop. One afternoon, as I sorted through new client files, my HR manager, Kelly, appeared in the doorway. "Got a new application," she said. "Strong background, 3 years in PR logistics." She scrolled her tablet. "Name's Tessa Morgan." The pen slipped from my hand. I kept my eyes on the screen and said, "Schedule her interview for Tuesday." Tuesday arrived with gray skies and a steady Portland drizzle. I came in early, but the quiet didn't help. Every sound felt sharp, the hum of the computer, the ticking clock, the faint patter on the windows. On my desk, the framed gas receipt leaned slightly to one side. I straightened it, though my hands weren't steady. At 9 sharp, Kelly knocked once. "She's here." I nodded. "Send her in." The door opened, and Tessa stepped inside like she belonged anywhere. Her coat was too thin for the rain, her hair pinned the way our mother used to do it for church. She smiled politely, not a flicker of recognition yet. "Good morning. Thank you for seeing me." I gestured to the chair across from me. "Please, sit." Kelly began the formal introduction, unaware of the tension twisting between us. "Ms. Tessa Morgan, applying for Operations Coordinator. This is Ms. Reese Morgan, founder and CEO." The name landed like a dropped glass. Tessa froze. "Reese." Her voice cracked, the sound small, disbelieving. I didn't move. "We'll keep this professional," I said. Kelly glanced between us, unsure. "Should I?" "It's fine," I said. "You can leave us." When the door clicked shut, silence filled the space. Tessa set her folder on the table with trembling hands. "I didn't know this was your company." "Few people do," I said. She swallowed. "I heard you were gone." I was. Her breath shook. "I thought you didn't survive. I finished for her." "Seems I did." She blinked fast, trying to gather herself. "I'm sorry. I don't know how to start this." "Start with what you came for." She looked down at her notes like they might shield her. "I've been working in PR logistics, managing brand partnerships and outreach. I can bring that skill set here. Communication, organization, team leadership. Stop." I leaned forward. "Tell me about fairness." She frowned. "Fairness. Yes. What does it mean to you?" Tessa hesitated. "It means giving everyone the same chance." "Did everyone in our house get the same chance?" Her face paled. "That was different. You left. I was told to leave." Tessa's eyes filled, but she kept her voice level. "I was 18. I didn't know what to do. Neither did I. I figured it out anyway." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For a moment, all I heard was the rain against the glass. Finally, she whispered, "They lost the house last year. Dad's business went under. Mom's been sick." "I'm not surprised," I said quietly. "They're not the same anymore. They talk about you all the time. They regret I raised a hand." "Don't. Regret's cheap. Fairness costs more." Tessa looked at the wall behind me, at the framed wristband and the gas receipt. I watched the exact second she recognized them. Her hand flew to her mouth. "That's... yes." Her voice broke. "Reese, I'm sorry. I should have stopped them. I should have said something." "You didn't have to," I said. Silence is its own answer. Tears slipped down her face, quiet and fast. "I don't want you to forgive them. I need a job. I need a chance." I studied her for a long moment. "If you walk out now," I said slowly, "you'll prove them right that fairness doesn't run in our blood." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Then I'll stay." "Good," I said. "You'll start where I did at the bottom. Fairness begins there." Tessa nodded, her voice barely audible. "I'll earn it." As she left the room, I looked again at the receipt on the wall. Its ink faded to gray. For the first time in years, it felt less like proof of pain and more like evidence of balance restored. Tessa showed up the next morning before everyone else. She stood in my doorway holding a notebook, her eyes red but determined. "You meant what you said yesterday," she began. "I usually do." She hesitated. "I didn't come here to beg. I came to work. Then sit down." I motioned to the chair. "Tell me what you're really here for." "Tessa." "Not what's written in that notebook." She looked down, gripping the edge of it like a lifeline. Dad's shop went bankrupt 2 years ago. He borrowed money to keep it open, but the bank took the property. Mom tried to hide it. Then she got sick last winter, lung issues. Maybe worse. They're living in a rented duplex now. I folded my hands, and they sent you to find me. She shook her head quickly. No, they don't know I'm here. They think I'm still in Chicago. I left because I couldn't stand the way they still talk about you as if you vanished on purpose. They told me I wasn't worth keeping. I know, she whispered, and I didn't stop them. For the first time, she met my eyes. There wasn't the bright confidence I remembered, just exhaustion, the kind I'd lived through myself. I used to believe them, she said, about you, about what you deserved, but I see things differently now. I've made mistakes too. I thought I could fix them by coming here. You can't fix the past, I said quietly, but you can stop repeating it. She nodded. Then let me prove it. I leaned back, measuring the weight of her words. You'll start as an entry-level analyst. Small team, long hours. Little pay, I don't care. You'll be treated like everyone else. No exceptions. That's what I want. There was no gratitude in her voice, only resolve. It was enough. I stood and extended my hand. Welcome to Haven Systems. Her fingers were cold when they met mine. Thank you. Reese, don't thank me, I said. Earn it. When she left the room, I caught her reflection in the glass wall, small, uncertain, but standing on her own. It was the first time I'd seen her without the glow of our parents' approval. She looked real. By the end of Tessa's first week, the office had found its rhythm again. She stayed late most nights, quiet, methodical, careful not to take up too much space. I watched her from my glass-walled office, the way she studied every file twice before asking a question. One evening, after everyone else had gone, she knocked gently. You wanted these reports? I nodded. Leave them on the desk. She placed the folder down but didn't leave. I keep waiting for you to yell at me, she said. I don't need to. Her mouth tightened. I deserve it. Probably, I said. But yelling doesn't build anything. She looked around the office, at the framed wristband and the faded receipt. You kept them. They remind me what I cost myself to get here. Tessa hesitated, her voice thin. Do you ever talk to them, Mom and Dad? No. They ask about you. I'm sure they do, I said. When it's safe to remember. She lowered her gaze. If you ever want to see them, I don't, I said softly. Not yet. Tessa nodded, holding the silence between us. You know, I used to think silence was punishment. Lately, it feels peaceful. I looked at her, really looked at her, the girl who once watched me walk away and said nothing. She wasn't that girl anymore. That's because you've earned your own voice, I said. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. Thank you for giving me a chance. Don't thank me, I said. Just use it. When she left, the office was quiet again. My phone lit up on the desk. Mom. I let it ring twice. Then pressed silence. The sound faded until only the rain outside remained. I leaned back in my chair, listening. The quiet didn't hurt anymore. It simply filled the room, steady and alive, like the sound of a life rebuilt one choice at a time. The highway back to Des Moines looked smaller than I remembered. I hadn't planned the trip, just got in the car one Friday and kept driving until the city limit sign appeared. The same gas station still stood at the corner of Maple and Fifth, its neon sign flickering open 24 hours. I parked across the street and sat for a while, listening to the quiet hum of the pumps. When I finally stepped out, the air smelled like rain and diesel. The metal bench out front was still dented on one side. I ran my fingers over the curve of it, the cold metal biting at my skin. A man in a work vest came out of the store, holding a broom. Can I help you? Miss, I used to sit here, I said. He looked puzzled. Long time ago, feels like a lifetime. He smiled politely and went back inside. I took a small bouquet from the passenger seat wildflowers from a roadside stall and laid them on the bench. Then I placed the framed gas receipt beside them. The ink was almost gone now, the numbers just faint shadows on the paper. Someone walked past and glanced at me. "Memorial," he asked gently. "In a way." I said, "For someone who stopped being afraid." He nodded and kept walking. The sky was turning pale gold when I whispered, "This is where they ended me, and where I began." For a long moment, I stood there, feeling the quiet settle around me. No anger, no ache, just the simple fact of being alive in a place that once tried to erase me. When I turned back toward the car, the neon sign behind me blinked again, steady for the first time. Open 24 hours. I smiled. "Good," I said softly. "Stay open." Then I got in, started the engine, and drove toward the light spreading over the horizon. 6 months later, the office buzzed with a calm I hadn't known before. Papers moved, voices overlapped, ideas landed without fear. Tessa stood by the conference table, explaining a new logistics plan to her small team. Her voice was steady now, no tremor, no apology. When the meeting ended, she knocked on my open door. "The Fairness Initiative numbers are in. We've onboarded 8 new clients, all small businesses." "Good work," I said. She smiled, uncertain. "I'm still learning. Keep doing that. It's what built this place." Her gaze shifted to the empty wall where 2 frames used to hang. "You took them down. I don't need them anymore. What happened to them? I left them where they belonged." Tessa nodded slowly. "You know, I think you were right about silence. It's not punishment. It's clarity," I said. "You can hear what matters once the noise fades." She lingered in the doorway. "You taught me that. Then teach it forward." When she left, I turned back to the sunlight spilling across my desk. The wall behind me was bare, but it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Angela from the shelter called later that afternoon. "Your grant went through," she said. "That scholarship fund, it's going to change lives." I smiled into the receiver. That's the point. As the city lights flickered on, I thought of the gas station bench, the dented metal, the quiet that started everything. Legacy wasn't what I framed. It was what I built for someone else to stand on.